What's going on, guys? Today's video is going to be talking about what it was like to return to fishing after Hurricane Ian back in 2022. I've done a previous video on the overall hurricane itself and the pre and during and post storm recovery. This is going to be more about the fishing aspect. So, kind of the things to look out for, the blessings, the challenges with returning to fishing. So, that's going to be kind of the my experience and the footage from this video. So that's what the plan is. So the first day fishing for me after the storm was September 28th. It was towards the very end of November, and I went with my boy Sunshine, and we went out to one of the beaches up north on the central of the island, and we were a little worried about the water quality. So Kyle brought his waders, and the water was super murky, but we did get a very crazy catch. Kyle ended up catching, and it was this massive snook. He actually, we thought it was a shark initially, just with how much run it was having. And this thing ended up being in the upper 30s, probably close to 40 inches. This thing was a monster, um, which was super, super cool. But again, you had to worry about the water safety. There was a lot of reports of the water not being safe and people getting rashes and diseases. Look at this fish. This thing was a monster. Um, just an absolute stud of a fish. Sick catch from him. Um, Here was the release. Another thing you have to look out for after a hurricane, and I'm recording this in 2024 now. We're seeing this now. The bugs are so bad. The no-see-ums are just brutal. You can kind of see some spots, some little flying dots floating around him when I kind of zoom in on Kyle a little bit. The little brown specks right here floating around.
Good kick.
Those are all the no-see-ums.
Good kick.
And so the bugs are just atrocious. So that's another thing to look out for when you're fishing. But we were definitely getting chewed up, bit up. But the catch, the fish was just totally worth it. It was such a blessing. It was an amazing fish. So something else that I had to kind of deal with was finding out, where do I fish? Where do I go? And this is something you'll have to do if you ever have this issue. There's Ding Darling. It was closed down. This is one of my kayak launch spots. There were branches and trees all over the place. So I ended up actually taking a saw and cutting down a lot of these trees that were broken down, and other people end up, the city paid people to do it, but you kind of just see the massive, um, debris and damage and stuff like that. So that's another roadblock too. Is, all right, where can I go? How can I get to my kayak launch spot, or how can I get to the boat ramp if the boat ramp's closed? The Sanibel Causeway, for instance, it's still closed right now, and people can't go off on that one. So there's Bowman's Beach boat ramp, and there's the dock to Bowman's Beach, like completely gone. So definitely a challenge. Like, can I even get out in the water? Some areas are, some areas have beaches that are safe. Some areas have nice little slips, but um, after a storm like this, it's pretty tough to find. So as you can see, just tons of wreckage and debris. This is again the Bowman's Beach area. And yeah, I just thought it was funny to put in. Massive chair. So after finally finding a good launch spot and clearing it out, I got out in the kayak at the very beginning of December, and this was such a beautiful, gorgeous day. This is such a blessing. It's one of my favorite days I've ever had. I ended up catching a ton of snook. I lost even more, but I was just hooking snook left and right. I think I ended up catching close to 8 or 9 snook. Hooking, even more than that, way more than that, even some redfish. I was using the artificial shrimp lure on this day, and kind of an odd angle picture of this redfish here, but yeah, it was just completely just a beautiful day. The water was actually getting a little bit more clear, which was good, at least in this section. So I was able to see some of the fish. The birds were back, but that's another thing too. You got to note the mangroves. These are all mangrove islands. They are completely, just bone dry. There's no mangroves, so that changes the style of fishing too. If there's no real trees, this was a snook that I had hooked. It was actually a decent size, and it pulled me into the mangroves, and I actually had to get out of the kayak to get it in. So that was a really good first day back, and I was so thankful. I actually went back the next day too with sunshine again. We took the kayaks out and caught a bunch more snook, and here's me getting pulled away by a redfish. Yeah, did not have the drag, so super tight on that. And then here's me posing for the camera here with that big old red. And so that was the cool thing, was the fish were still around.
Yeah, buddy.
Um,
Tilt it a little bit
there
back
were
towards me.
some instances, and this is where you have to kind of
like,
stay
no, no, no.
um,
Tilt.
in touch
Yeah.
with the FWC web page about red tide and algal blooms, things like that.
Be able to get a good screenshot.
There were a lot of times where there were dead fish around, but you can kind of maneuver. Sometimes you can maneuver around and avoid that. So here's a sunshine with the redfish here. That was cool.
Yes, sir.
So yeah, that was a good thing, was there were still fish around. At least in this zone here. You just kind of had to know when to avoid the areas when the red tide started to kick in. So yeah, more snook and reds, more reds. And the birds were, and that's, you can kind of start to see the wildlife go back into normalcy. The birds are all starting to roost on the islands, and kind of get back to their normal routine, which is super cool. This is actually a good overhead shot of the bay. As you can see, those islands are all brown. Those are the mangrove islands outside of Sanibel and Cape Coral, Fort Myers area. This is from Kyle's wedding day, actually. That's where his hotel was at, which is super cool. That was the thing, you gotta remember, like, it's still a beautiful area. It was still a blessing just to be out there and on the water. So, which is super, super cool. Again, more bird footage there. Tons of birds. The birds are back, even though you see there's little patches of mangrove that's still, still green, but a lot of it's brown. It depends on where the surge was and where the winds were. Lots of debris. So this is the next section. So this is, again, more towards Blind Pass. You got to make sure you avoid any kind of boats, any kind of equipment, machinery in the water, things sticking out of the water. I've had a lot of times where I've scraped my kayak on things that had sunk. There's a beautiful video of Blind Pass. But yeah, you gotta be careful on what's under the water, and if you're getting out, be very smart about that and very careful. Some nice snook, even with all the debris and all the stuff, still able to get some nice snook, redfish around the area. It was kind of cold at this point too, so winter time. Um, Cold for me at least. I'm kind of a wimp now with weather with that. Definitely be prepared to lose a couple of jigs or two with all the debris in the water. Had that as well. I think I'd shared this in my other video, but I just wanted to pull it up here because we're talking about debris and fishing. This was a home that had washed off its foundation near Captiva, and which is just heartbreaking, but also just insane at the same time. I did not try to fish this, but there were a lot of bait fish swimming around it. Hopefully you guys never run into an entire home sitting in the water, but you will probably find like pieces of it and things like that. So just being aware of like when things are sticking out of the water, aware of your surroundings, things like that. Sounds like common sense, but when you're fishing, you're locked in on fishing, it's very easy to miss um, things sticking out of the water and nails. You don't want to have to go to the hospital for something silly like that. So, but again, just absolutely crazy. This was towards Captiva, between Sanibel and Captiva, which is a crazy time with that. Some more quality fishing though. So that was the thing, was the fishing definitely picked up as time went on. The water started to clear out. Fish started to go back to their normal, habitat situations, and that was a huge blessing. So you can see it gets some good snook here. I will say there were times though when the animal started acting funky. It's a bird that clearly had some sort of poison sickness. I saw a snook that had red tide, and he was very active, very unnaturally. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. It was a blessing to be able to be out there and enjoy this time. you watch Kyle and I shiver in fear from a dolphin trying to get Kyle's sheep's head. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Hope this was informative as well as just entertaining as well. I pray you guys never are in this situation where you have to um, fish and recover from a hurricane. But if you ever do, or have friends that do, family, whatever, this is an example of something that you can look on with that. But thank you guys so much for watching. It's been a blessing to share this footage with you guys. Pray we never have a hurricane like this again, an experience like this again. But you know what? It's in God's hands, and trust in Him. Thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll catch you guys on the next video. Okay? Peace, guys.